welcome to today's conversation about the article, Should We Dismiss Learning Styles in Instruction? I'm Danielle Cox, Chair of the Prison Literacy Committee of COABE and the Director of Correctional Education at the Maryland Department of Labor. I'm here with the author of the article, who I'll go ahead and let introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Leecy Wise. Most people call me Leecy. I was raised in Brazil, where my name Alice is pronounced Alice. And so I grew up having people call me Leecy, just dropping the so that's where Leecy comes from. Essentially, let me see what I can say about myself. I currently work as a consultant after taking early retirement from El Paso Community College, where I was a tenured instructor. And before that, I was a Peace Corps administrator, of course, in Brazil, because I spoke the language. That's where they sent me. But most recently, I've been working with two adult learning programs here in the Four Corners region of Colorado. Unlimited Learning Center is one of them. And the other one is the Toyac Ute Mountain Ute Learning Center. So I live in the Four Corners, and if anybody wants to send us more rain, we'll take it.
You can have some of ours, the snow too, if you want it. That's an amazing history, and probably did well with writing this article. It allowed you to have some background, I'm sure, to be able to bring into what you wrote. So welcome. Your article, it was very on point for me as a former teacher, principal, academic coordinator, curriculum developer of students who are in correctional institutions. It's imperative that content be delivered in a variety of ways. I am a very strong believer that none of us learn the same way, especially when we are adults. We have adult students who act more like students that are in K through 12. So we have to, go through a variety of different content delivery options to ensure that we are hitting every individual student and exactly what they need. So I found it to be very enlightening. Can you tell us why you wrote this article for COABE's Learning Differences Journal?
The why of things is usually rather lengthy, but essentially, I was led to react more, or respond, I should say, to recent research articles that debunk learning styles. Learning styles have been around for a long time, and of course, people, researchers tend to put things in boxes. And they put it in the box of kinesthetic and audio and visual. And to say that those don't exist based on very limited, in my opinion, limited research is to miss the point that rather than limit or say that we shouldn't do something, we should be looking at research that says, hey, here's something new that you can be looking at. And rather than debunk or say that former helpful suggestions have not worked, to me, teaching is an art. It's not a science. Research tends to treat teaching as a science, and you put this and that and the other together, and you come out with the same result every time. It doesn't happen. In fact, in teaching, the interaction that happens usually is very different each single time. We are not a science. I'd rather have research inform us, guide instruction rather than dictate this or that. So that was my primary reason for deciding to write an article that essentially says, okay, rather than debunk it, let's look at learning preferences. To me, learning styles are preferences. Maybe I'm wrong, but to my observation, I'm looking out here on a canyon with all kinds of creatures, and everything has a preference. We have preferences. About what we like to do, when we like to do them, how we like to do it, when we like to do it. So to me, learning styles represent a limited number of preferences. And most of those listening who have been in teaching adults for umpteen years as I have, know that when adults come to us, they don't know what their preferred learning styles are. They don't know. They've never thought about it. And so I don't believe in giving you a test to say, okay, here's a test on learning styles. And now, oh, you're a visual learner. So now we're going to do visual learning. No, to me, if you use a test, and I'm not going to debunk tests either. If you use a test, use it to begin a dialogue. And I give examples of how, when I was a career counselor, we used to do that. So give them a test if you want, but essentially, to me, our purpose in teaching, and all best teachers, in my opinion, have one single goal in common. What is it? Encourage independent learning. I don't care what you're teaching. If your students are able to know what their strengths are and to apply those strengths, I don't care what it is that they need to learn, they'll do it themselves. As an instructor of a subject matter, I can just give them material, help them decipher it. But my job is to help them learn what their strengths are, to get to know themselves. And how do I do that? In the article, I give several suggestions about how to best do that. One is to observe rather than tell, observe. And then after you observe, provide feedback. Our students don't get enough feedback. They're always being told what to do, and research reinforces that. But if we just take a step back, there is a saying, be a guide on the side. I like that, be a guide on the side. Observe, provide, oh, look at what you did. Hey, that was pretty good. You like that. So that they begin to develop an awareness of how they learn. And then we reinforce that. I'm a great believer in differentiated learning, which is another reason I wrote the article, is to provide ways to, even with one student, differentiate instruction, have different ways of showing important concepts so that they can choose from the huge feast of options, and options give students more self-awareness. So in a nutshell, that's why I decided to respond to this article.
That's amazing. I love the point of not debunking previous previous things that other people have come up with, but just coming up with new ways of looking at learning, right? That was a great thing that stood out for me there.
Exactly.
How will adult education practitioners benefit from reading your article, and how will that benefit their learners?
Excuse me. I would hope that practitioners will be encouraged to put aside all these rules and regulations that exist and that govern our practice. Yeah, we belong to programs, we have to report, we have to show that we're doing this. But I hope that teachers will be invited, first of all, to get to know themselves better, because then they can help students. We don't often know ourselves how we prefer to teach. And there is research, to talk about more research, there is research that says that most of us teach the way we learn. No, we teach the way we were taught. I'd like to think that we should teach the way we learn, because then we have more fun doing it, and then we expand. So I hope that people will be encouraged in reading whatever notes are there to help become more self-aware as teachers, and to maybe include more fun things themselves rather than saying, oh, I was taught that I had to teach this or that or the other this way, and go on with the lecture. So hopefully it's an invitation to become self-aware and to help students become more self-aware. Okay, don't call it styles. In the article, it says, call it aardvark, but call it whatever, but appreciate that we all have preferences. Honor those in yourself and honor those in your students.
That's wonderful. What do you hope the readers will take away from the article?
Pretty much what I've described. Take away permission to become creative. Take away permission to become creative. To me, as I said before, teaching is an art. Consider yourself an artist with all these resources that are available, but which will not dictate your instruction. If you're an artist, behind all those materials and resources and sources, there's an artist with a palette, and I see the student as being the canvas. And again, it's not who does what, but the interaction. Learning happens through interaction. And the interaction between the palette, the resources, the materials, the teacher and the student inevitably creates a piece of art. And I'd like to encourage practitioners to become more aware of themselves as artists rather than scientists.
I love that, thinking of teacher as artist. That's great. Do you have any additional comment you'd like to share?
Beyond what I've said, not so much as to leave people with the idea that interaction is where learning takes place. And it's through interaction with content, interaction with a teacher, interaction with self, interaction to the dancers in that picture, that learning takes place. And to allow that interaction, and in order for adults or any of us to interact effectively, we have to feel like we're part of the picture. We're part of it. We're not separate and somebody's telling us what to do and we grade them. But interaction occurs through actual dialogue over important topics. And some of those topics may have nothing to do with the subject matter itself.
Very true. It does have to do with interaction. You've got student to student interaction, teacher to teacher interaction, content to content. It's all one. I like how you said that. It's all a dance. That's great. All right. Well, thank you very much, Leecy. It was great talking to you.
Well, thank you. Great talking to you. And thanks for having my article published. And I look forward to hearing more in reaction to that and hope it's helpful.
It definitely will be, I'm sure. Thank you.